Yeah, you're talking to Valerie.
I just want to preface this. I've never
Valerie,
done yoga.
go. It's all you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Growler Hour with Nick and Brian. We also have as our special guests Dale and Renee. You might notice Renee, super sexy, and Dale. All right, so we're going to do a little couples yoga to see who's a little more limber, who's really kind of getting ready and making sure we're ready to handle our clients a little better. And who knows? We'll find out who's top and bottom. So, who's ready to go? What do you guys have for us?
Our first one.
Nice. All right, let's go. All right. And what we have, is there a time limit on this? 30 seconds. Okay, go.
Come on, buddy. What do we do?
Come to the side.
How do we do this?
Oh, reach in, reach in. Oh, yeah. Heels closer, heels closer, heels closer. Come on. Come fast.
All right, next one. Go. We got it. We got it.
Okay.
Oh, that's easy.
For sure. Ready? Ready?
All right. Wait, I gotta see it. Throw your head back.
Lean back.
Oh, we win. We've won both of these. All right, go.
That's the point, isn't it?
I told you 50-50. Didn't I say? All right, what do we got? We've done this
Top
one
and bottom.
before.
You can be top and bottom.
Oh my God, you just said it.
Hey, but whoever's bottom, hey, whoever's bottom is really top. You know what I'm saying? That's obvious. All right, let's see what we got next.
There's more?
How many do we have?
One more left.
All right, so this is
This is going to be the worst, isn't it?
Wait, before you turn it around. Whoever does it first, okay?
All right, go. Get over here.
First, so you better look at it right, and whoever does it first. Ready?
Hold on. What do we get?
I just saw it.
We get to go back inside.
Turn around. Turn around. Turn around, Brad. Turn around.
The loser has to go.
No, never don't turn around. Bring your foot back further. Hold on.
Close enough.
You're fine.
Close
Go
enough.
forward. Go. Yes. And I'm even to come up.
Ours was better.
Whatever. You all know.
All right, let's go.
No clap or nothing?
Hey!
Oh, I'm sweating. Couples yoga. Is there functional ones?
Well, we certainly got closer.
Oh, that's one way to break the ice.
See, that's an icebreaker. You don't just walk in and be like, hey, so you can do a couple things. We can do a minute to win it game.
I will
Let's
be
be
honest. It is a little warm outside, huh?
It is. And
Have you guys been practicing?
Whoa.
Feels like it.
Every morning.
No, we just touch it. We're very handsy at this office.
You go to the gym, we play yoga on the grass.
It shows.
Yeah.
Actually, we're live. It's all you.
We are live. Okay, so yeah, very excited about this one, guys. Dale and Renee, these guys are super great. Great time. Renee and I know each other from back in the day. I actually just met Dale, although we were saying, I mean, our kids go to jiu-jitsu together, so that's pretty cool. So that's a very bonding experience. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah, these guys are super cool. They have a great content online, and very excited to have them here. And Brian, what do we want to talk about today?
So I think there's a lot of things that we have to go over. One, I think we need to go over the fact that we talked 2 weeks ago with Conrad about the new brokerage class. And the reason that, Renee, you came to mind specifically is that you went into business with the mindset that said, hey, I want to start something of my own.
right.
But you didn't want to do it the traditional format, right? The traditional format sometimes is not fit for everybody. And I think in this category, it came down to you still wanted to sell houses, which was what I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And the traditional brokerage doesn't necessarily allow for that because it requires a lot more liability requirements from you, oversight, supervision, such and so forth. Not that we don't have some of those, but talked about your transition from agent to company, lead of the company, then branching out on your own, and then where that went, and then how this lovely man over here came into your life.
Well, that is a lot of explaining.
All right, you got 30 seconds to knock that out.
And I want lovely in the sentence.
We just did yoga outside, guys, so it's a little sweaty.
Here, hold on, before you go, you know what I forgot to say? Hey, this is Growler Hour. It threw me off of the couples yoga and how amazing these guys were and answering their questions earlier. Hey, we are drinking some growlers, if you will. We like to go to local breweries. This one is actually from Las Cruces. We grabbed Salt Money from Bosque, as well as the Cerveza from Bosque. And it is Really good. The salt money, I like to think, it's got a little lime in there. It's very refreshing. Both Dale and Rene were very gracious when I poured it for them, and I don't know that they're giant fans, but we'll find out, right? But then the cerveza is there for them.
They feel like it's going okay.
It's happening. It's happening. But I just want to
think you did throw
give
it
a
up
shout
all the
out.
way.
Yeah, I'll keep it coming to you. I'll keep it coming to you. But anyway, so now that we had a chance to kind of calm down, that AC's kicking in a little bit. Right, now you're ready to go, and I want lovely emphasis. All right.
Excellent. Yeah, kind of give us the breakdown, Rene.
Yeah, so I went from solo agent, did that for a couple of years, and then I ended up taking over a brokerage as, I guess, acting CEO. But then I realized that I wasn't going to ever really I'm a creative, and I realized I wasn't ever going to be able to do my own thing or the way I wanted to do it unless I did my own thing. So instead of bumping heads with somebody that owned a company, I figured, well, that's stupid. They own it. They can do whatever they want. If I want to do what I want to do, I need to go to my own spot.
Yeah, kind of guide it through that point of you don't have
I see what you
to
did
have
there.
that restriction.
Guided,
Yeah,
own
guide it
guide.
through, yeah.
That's good, bro. I like
That's
the
a
puns
little-
already.
Hey,
The puns already.
we're on point here. We've been doing this for a little bit. On that note, it kind of comes down to, but you also, I wouldn't say stumbled, but you kind of had iterations of that version too, right?
100%.
With partnering with a large brokerage. The brokerage I'm with is EXP, and then you moved away from EXP to the fact that now, hey, you wanted to go more independent, but still have control while not necessarily taking the liability of what a broker would have that responsibility for. And that might be something down the line, but that's the point of this business is I think we all have to find generation of where we end up. And Dale, you kind of have a similar story that you went out and did something similar, but didn't necessarily fit right into what you wanted to. So kind of give us a guideline on what that was.
Yeah, so I also started, I actually started under a team my first year in real estate. This is now my 6th year in real estate. So 6 years in, started with under a team, did that about a year, went solo, and then after about 3 years into it, I decided that I also wanted to open up my own brokerage. I already had my own office space, I already had my own systems in place, I already had everything essentially what a broker would have. I already had that in place, so I figured why not do it also myself. So that's when I started the Logren Real Estate Group, and then eventually that's when Rene and I partnered up and we got together rather, and that's when we started there together.
Yeah.
The funny part about that is before he owned me and Dale have mastermind for years. That's how we became really close. Funny thing is that before he opened his own brokerage, he was talking to me about it, and I said, "Don't. Can we cuss?
Yeah.
All right, don't fucking do
I think
it."
you're drunk.
Oh,
I think you're
we didn't go that
fucking
heavy.
Yeah,
We didn't just jump in. Earmuffs.
deep
you guys are just
in.
grabbing asses outside. I think you can say fuck.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. So I had told him when he told me, he's like, I think I want to open my own brokerage, and I had already been doing it for a couple of years. And I was like, unless you're crazy, don't fucking do it. Because there's a lot that goes behind the scenes of owning a brokerage or even running a team.
Funny thing, Brian also said that.
Really?
We had lunch one time and he was like, dude, are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
But-
it's exhausting, and
It is.
and
can
Andrew has lost his hair over this.
Oh, he had hair before?
I'm on my way out too.
So I took an aerial photo of his hair one time. That's true though. Like
he
drone
that's a
shots?
true story.
he actually shaved it within about 10 minutes of that picture.
No, by lunch we shaved that hair. But that's not important right now. And what an asshole brother does he have, right? Anyways, but it's a really good point, right? Like so many agents look at that and be like, oh man, if only I was the boss, I get all the money and I get all this. But nobody looks at overhead. Right. My kids this morning were talking about selling lemonade, and I was like, what's your overhead, guys? I don't know. Well, we got to pay for.
You're paying for it.
Well, that's what they came in.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you're buying the lemonade and the cups. Like, well, not if you're going to sell it. Now we're going to start going into business together.
You sound a lot more intelligent with that face on your shirt.
Yeah, I
like it.
I look
You
pretty
too.
good looking
Yeah.
over there too. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm making eye contact with myself. Though. So then I told the guy, right? Like, look at me. What does that mean? Hey, what a fun conversation. Feel like I'm getting ready in the morning. You are great. And people loved you.
Hear him.
Yeah, you too, Rene. But but that's the thing, right? Is like so many people look at that and be like, oh, how easy? Why aren't I in charge? Why don't I just do all this stuff? And you realize, man, there are so many decisions which way you go. Do I join a big brokerage? Do my own thing? And and I think that's what's really kind of cool is you've done a lot of different ones, tried them out, been successful, I would say, at everything.
Thank you, bro.
But and it's been really cool to watch the bromance just develop throughout the, from afar, of course. But not that I'm stalking you. It's not weird. Yeah, I hope it's not weird.
It's been good because we always talk about you always need a battle buddy, right? When you're starting in any business, and in this business, our personalities, even though we are very aligned in the visions that we have, but our personalities are a little bit different when we balance each other out. I know everybody says that, but we're very genuine when it comes to that relationship, that synergy that we have with each other, to where he can do certain things way better than I can, and vice versa. And together, we've been able to find this like structure within our brokerage that's allowed us to just create a great culture for our team and for ourselves. And I personally wouldn't have been able to do that, at least I don't think by myself, at least not as fast as we've been able to do it together.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of what me and Nick and Andrew have always had, is that we have the ability to disagree while still having agreements at the same time, right?
There we go.
And
We'll work on it, guys. We'll work on it.
but in ours is a trouble. But at the end of the day, right?
That sounds sexy.
It's a work in progress, Rene.
But it comes down to figuring out. Okay,
Look how upset he is all the time.
There's gonna have. He's got his arms crossed. We need yeah. There you go. The Instagram's catching it. Get on Instagram if you want to see that.
Check it out.
It comes down to realizing that if you have somebody that's going to call your shit out, I think that's where it also comes down to. Because I'm sure there isn't always agreements, right? You guys are young in your relationship, so I'm sure that it gets along better.
The honeymoon stage.
Honestly, we're still in the honeymoon stage. So,
Yeah, everything's great still.
yeah.
You guys sound like you guys have a horrible time.
If you saw just
Yeah,
a minute
like
ago,
I said,
we were
marking
bitching
shit
at each
on our
other like
calendar
right
when
before
we're
we
getting
were
together
live.
for
Yeah.
intimacy. Sorry, go ahead. What you
No,
said.
but in all seriousness, I mean, we've already had like rougher conversations than like the more enjoyable or fun ones. But the cool thing is we can talk to each other like that and make it factual and not sit there with our feelings and say, oh, you're so mean or you're being mean to me. We sit there with facts and we say, what's the facts? How can we improve on it? All right, move forward. And then we're on to the next thing.
And that's so important, right? Like if you do have business partners, especially if you're running a brokerage and stuff, you have to be kind of on the same page. You have to have the same goals, and you have to be able to, hey guys, we said we were going to do this, right? And in our case, we've got three, so we always have a 2-to-1 vote. But yeah, if you guys are going to be sitting there and talking, you have to be able to say, hey, look, man, said you're going to do this, you didn't do it, or whatever the case is. And you're right, the feelings cannot be a part of that. Because if you're going to run a successful business, guess what? We're all human. We're going to drop the ball every now and then. You got to be able to call for it. That's the whole point of having somebody who's going to keep you accountable. An accountability partner is huge, and somebody you trust. So when they do say it, it's not just an insult. It's like, okay, I appreciate it. It came from a place of not only caring, but our business is important too. So
And it's cool to feed off each other also, because with that battle buddy and that person that you really respect and trust, when you see them elevate something, it at least for me, it pumps me up where I'm like, fuck, I need to elevate even higher. Like, how cool is that what he just did? I need to make sure that I'm matching that, or both of us are elevating to a different level together.
And I think that's really what comes down to, because both of you are still in sales, right? And I think that also comes into the category that how things are happening in the market. Like you're not seeing it just from the top level, but you're seeing you're able to see the shift in market immediately on your own business. And I think
I'm getting you the new one, Rene. I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
You have to finish that.
Sorry, Rene, finish that one so you get a new one.
So it comes down to figuring out, how do we figure that part, right? How do we put that into play? And I think a lot of times that's missed on some brokerages, because brokerages that don't have brokers that are in sales are seeing it from just pure liability. And sometimes that, I think, and I don't know that everybody agrees with me, but at the end of the day, sometimes things are missed by the token that they're not seeing the boots on ground, right? It's kind of like in the military world.
I'm digging all these military references. Battle buddies, boots on the ground.
I experienced it
Tip of the spear.
myself, where when COVID first started happening, it got to a point where I was just done with helping buyers at the time. So I had buyer's agents, and I started offloading all my buyers to them. And it was just to the point where I was overwhelmed with the amount of traffic and clients that I had, that I had to delegate all that stuff because it was just too much.
Yeah, and finding those avenues. And I think that's also where you guys have seen, and once it kind of meshes, you start to see real connection in the brokerage. Like, you've seen people attracting, like doing these types of things, going online. We picked you guys because you're fun online.
Yeah.
You see the value of showing your, we make jokes that make everybody laugh for the purpose of, Nick does stupid shit around me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm usually looking at him like, what the hell? But people see that value, and they own that, the fact that that's the culture.
It's also just real life.
Yeah, just right. That's everything, but that's the other part. But it comes down to, because you have to have culture, because you can be great alone, But when you're trying to serve a bunch of people, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you decide, it's going to be beneficial to you and them, right? I mean, your content that you're putting out there is for the purpose of, one, gaining business, but two, also being real with what you are regularly. Because, you know, I'm sure you're like that with your kids, you're engaged with them, you have those things, and that kind of resonates across the board, right? So kind of shifting gears a little bit, we talked about this at the very beginning, kind of talking about the fact that you both are in the sales side, right? You both run multiple businesses, okay? Rene, you do some coaching with Tom Ferry, and so how many people are you coaching right now?
I was at 25, I brought it down to 15.
And so you're running multiple facets of business. You're running a sales business, you're running a brokerage business, you're running a, you know, kind of the function of a, you know, general point of coaching in general, right? But then you function back. Talk to me about these conversations that we had with young agents that come into the business say, I don't have the time for that. Because you're also a good parent, at least from social media.
I hope I am, yeah. I hope I am.
Well, if you look at only my social media, I'm an amazing parent and husband.
I've seen it. You are.
Great. Sorry, go ahead, Rene.
Like going back to what you said with like younger agents and like how, I guess it comes down to like time management, right? But it's really just being more efficient and really prioritizing certain things, because you can't, I don't believe that you can work-life balance everything. Like you're going to be invested in work like a lot more than family sometimes, and vice versa with coaching and different things. So I don't think you can fully balance everything, but you can be strategic with how you spend your time in certain facets. So when people that are young, especially without a family, without really much on their plate, when they say, oh, I don't have time to do it, no, you're full of shit. You just didn't prioritize it. And you're not that committed.
And you didn't have the real estate lifestyle. Nick talks about this a lot, that, you know, I always have the conversation that am I, you know, having a day off. Real estate's not a day off. Real estate is having your life the way you want it, because you're able to set your times for when you can. Like we tried to coordinate this meeting. No, hey, you got a couple things to do. We got to work around that. We're able to do that because we have a real estate world, right? We have a real estate mindset, if you will. And that kind of translates into, it doesn't mean you have to turn one thing off to be great at another thing. You just have to figure out how to balance each of those things, right? And I know, I mean, look at our bodies, while all in a similar shape, some of us are a little more than others. You know,
it's a bottom body.
Yeah. And I want to applaud, you know, from social media, like you and your wife are engaged in that on a regular basis. So you're improving one relationship while taking that time, and you spend time in the gym. I think everybody can realize that.
Do you want him to switch seats with me? Or?
Yeah. You are amazing, right? Both of you.
I'm actually having separation anxiety. Can we switch?
Yeah. So for me, mindset is really important. And it starts with taking care of your physical body as well. So to me, the first thing every morning is going to the gym. I have to set the day for myself, and that's where it starts. I need to make sure that I have a clear mind before I can start my day. So for me, I rather sacrifice sleep to get more things done. And by sacrifice, I mean I'll sleep 5 hours. And to me, that's sufficient enough to get the rest of the things done. So, but for me more so, last year I did help about 74 families buy and sell a home. This year I'm about 40 homes sold, and we now have a little over 60 agents within our brokerage. So now my biggest focus is, again, trying to pivot and find different people who could take on the roles. I call them the $10 an hour jobs. Have them take care of all that stuff so I could focus on our brokerage, and also on top of that, being able to have systems in place where my real estate production continues and progresses to get better by me hiring the right people and putting them in those places, which I've already been doing. That gives me more time to be with the brokerage, but also travel almost every month, which is what I do. So,
well, and that's a pivot point to say that, listen, you know, what's interesting, and while a lot of my staff are in the audience, this is probably going to be a glaring look, but you got to also be willing to let them fail.
Right.
And you have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not always okay with it, but at the end of the day, I sometimes have to choke that pride, because at the end of the day, I allowed for that to take place, and that systematic separation of power to have, you know, benefit to me in the long run, right? And that's something that a lot of people in this business have a real difficulty with letting go. I mean, I know you've seen this from every stage of the business, but realtors like to be everything. Right? They want to do everything. They want to have their hands on everything. I'm not looking at one person individually, but sometimes we have issues with letting go, right?
Yeah. I'm working really hard on being able to not work hard at all anymore. You know what I mean? And I say that obviously in the way where it's like, I want to have the systems in place where my real estate production continues to grow and gives me all the free time to be there with the brokerage. So I'm still working. I'm barely on my 6th year, but I'm still working on those systems to where essentially, and I say that often, and I've said it to Rene before, I like your business model, and that's something that I want to imitate as well, to where I have my listing coordinators, my buyer's agents. And
So we're here. We're getting intel.
Yeah. So
We're 100%.
Well, and that's the wonderful thing, and I think that's the part that I think everybody needs to hear out there is that, Nick had not met Dale, right? But me and Dale have had multiple lunches, right? You had a connection with Rene, which is a pretty interesting story of me, right? And I've had lunch with you on a regular basis. Like, if you are stuck in your own brokerage, you are stuck in a rut.
Right.
Because if you are not willing to talk and communicate with other people, you're going to lose the opportunity to grow in this business. You were at a Tom Ferry event. How many people were at that event?
6,000.
6,000 people. Were they all at the same brokerage?
No.
Not even a chance, right? You had indies, you had all the big brokerages, plus you had you, right? And the reality is that you all kind of mesh and you all talk about business.
Right.
We sometimes marriage to our brokerage something that is kind of eliminating the opportunity for growth. And
I think that's more ego than anything. There's a lot of ego in our industry, and sometimes
you didn't know there's secrets in this business?
There's way too much ego, but I think you look at that right there. In the past, since 2020, right? Like that's COVID, right? I think that's been a huge deal. This town, I think this town was pretty good about kind of sharing, showing up. Like we went to our open houses on, we'd have our Wednesdays, our Thursdays. Everybody show up. We'd all hang out. Like we had a pretty good vibe, cohesion, if you will, throughout the town. And everybody kind of just shut down. And now, I think right now, that's why that's so important. I think people, if you have a chance to go out and go see other people, especially in other industries, or the same industry, but other areas, it's so important because everybody is so shut off, right? We've kind of gotten to that point where you show up and you're lucky if you do show up to the office. Everybody's still kind of hanging out in their sweats and like doing stuff like remotely. And it's crazy to me. And that's the problem. I think we're not really talking as much unless you're getting involved with GEPAR and you're getting involved with women councils, realtors, all that kind of stuff.
Or you have an office.
Bring that back.
Your office and our office are very similar. That we're very culture based, right?
Yeah.
We'd rather sometimes get the bottom line for a fun time, right? Because that means that the bottom line will grow based on the fact that people enjoy coming to work.
And I think something that's important on that is people see online and like, oh, all they do is have fun, right? Like people say, oh, great, you're having fun. Like you guys, like, oh, they're wearing their wigs and having fun, and it sounds cool, right? And us, right? Like, oh, great. And my wife says all the time, like, it's not a good look, Nick. You're having fun, and Brian's working. You look like an idiot, right? Like, okay, dear, but thank you, thank you for the input. But but my point is like that is important, right? Like you need a culture. You need people who are willing to come down and hang out and listen to us talk about the industry. But it comes down to that is like once you get that culture involved, like within that office, people want to show up. They want to be a part of what's going on. And guess what? We do have a lot of work that goes on. It's not the same as the military. We're not digging foxholes. We're not putting roofs on. There's a lot of rough jobs that like hard work is out there. But for us, let's be honest, like a hard work for us is not, nobody's going to die. But like we're out there getting after it. But
Being
it's
engaged.
Yeah, but it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Right? Like if you do a deal, like this is not something that's like, hey, it's in and it's out. It's in, it's out. Like what do they say? Like, you get in there, you get out, you forget about it. Like our whole thing is like, we need to be taking care of our clients. We need to take care of our agents, especially the brokerage wise. We're taking care of our agents. We're in their forum. We're here all the time. It should be fun. Like, should we work too? 100%. Obviously, nobody's going to pay the bills, but it shouldn't be miserable. Right? Like you look at, and like you talk about those traditional brokerages versus the newer brokerages. Like I remember back in the day with us when we were, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. It rhymes with entry 21. But, when we first took over that office back in 2009, if you walked in, we had individual offices, like 32, I think. If you'd have walked in, you'd see the receptionist, and you might see whoever's hanging out talking to the receptionist, me, and like just BSing, right? But you wouldn't know if the whole place was full or if everybody was there, or like if it's gone. Like you don't know because everybody's in their office and they're probably napping, playing solitaire, or maybe working on deals, right? Maybe.
I like how far you're going back, solitaire.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Clash of Clans or something, but I don't know what I don't know what the kids are doing nowadays. But yeah, we're young office guys. But so Anyways,
We gotta get some of these.
yeah, really. Yeah, it's good to have this. We just walk around. Culture, guys, culture.
We have some notes from the office.
Yeah. So when you guys go back, just make sure you have this. But yeah, that's one of those things where you look into that and you think, all right, that traditional office, right? Like, but you're on your own. Like when I think of a traditional office, and not all of them are like this, but like it was isolated. You were on your own. Yep. And now you look at this. I mean, like I love to see, and we did learn this with the Rhymes with Entry 21, but we went to a conference and we saw like, hey, that new age office where people show up and they're in the middle and they're open and all this kind of stuff like this, open air office, landing strip, if you will. And the thing is you want other agents to talk to each other. And how much? If you've got 10 first year agents, you've got 10 years of experience in the current market. And then you throw in extra agents who have more time and all this stuff, and people start talking and they're doing things together. And yeah, they might have fun while they're there. We're laughing, we're having a joke. But if somebody says, hey, I'm dealing with so-and-so, has anybody ever dealt with this person? Sure have. Has anybody dealt with this problem? Yeah, I just did it a year ago, just did it today, or doing it tomorrow.
We had that conversation upstairs when we said, hey, we're gonna have Dale and Rene, and everybody was like, who? And then 3 or 4 interjections, some of them good. Some
All of
bad.
them good. We're on live.
I like how close they're bad.
No,
We
my
just had to
point-
argue
but that's-
over top
But
and
that's the
bottom.
point, right? We have to have that dialogue that says that we know each other and we can share that information. And you guys have a similar office too, where it has it open air, kind of everybody working together and progressively for that growth.
And that's culture, right? Like what you don't want is people fighting each other and be like, no. You're the opposition. If you're in an office and you look at somebody else like you're the opposition, that's a problem.
Well, because there's enough animosity in this industry as it is. You should go to your office and feel comfortable to be able to relate and have a conversation with the people in your office. There's a saying that we always say is, you could be the best agent in the world, but if you're in the wrong environment, you're not going to grow. Mm-hmm. It's like planting an apple seed where it's not supposed to plant if the soil's bad, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to grow into an apple tree. So you have to find the right environment that works for you, and then you got to keep that culture. You have to make sure that culture stays that culture. Right, because then there is some bad seeds. You have to make sure that those bad seeds don't stay in your culture because they could disrupt the whole culture.
Huge point. I mean, like, and that's the thing. Like, let's say you have a perfect culture, it's not going to stay that way without, like you said, cultivating
Enforcement.
Like, let's go crazy, right? Like we're trimming apple seeds and leaves and whatnot. But that's a good point. Like if you've got somebody who's poisonous or whatever, you got to get rid of it. But the other thing too is if you just step back and let it happen, you're going to start having those weird.
Well, there's also the sense of humility. You did a good production that was profitable for you, right? As an independent. I think all of us in this panel are in the basis that we would like to help other people.
Right.
Or else we wouldn't do what we do, right? Because at the end of the day, success has fallen into all of us on the particulars of individual work ethic that we have. What it comes down to is that you have to be serving others in order to serve yourself, right?
Yep.
And you have to serve others before you serve yourself too. And I think that's one nice thing about all of us is that I know that we all do that in that fashion. So understanding that and putting that in the category I think is really key. But getting kind of to the point of also understanding that the success is driven by you're going to make those things happen no matter what, right? Like you go home, you know that you have to face your kids and say, hey, I did this and I did it the best I possibly could, right? And I'm just curious to kind of hear from your perspective, like, because Dale, you have, what's your youngest?
My youngest is 3.
Yeah.
I can't keep track. There's so many of them. Yeah, but my youngest is 3 and my oldest, she's 16.
Yeah, so
And we're working on another, so it'll be a total of 6 kids.
there you go, 6 kids. So, I mean, think about that. You have responsibilities from every facet, right? You have, you have to make it to the games and the this and that, and you're also taking care of people at home. But once again, you're successful in the sales business. So just kind of hearing from you, what's that wake up mentality? You said go into the gym, right? But what gets you to the gym?
It's just my discipline. For me, it's always been, people always say like, oh, I'm motivated. I just left from talking with Brian Birds at his podcast. I'm going to go sell fucking 50 homes. And then they drive off and then it just goes away, right? Because it's just an emotion. It just dissipates. But I've had discipline for a very long time. I've been very structured because I have goals in mind, and they're huge goals that scare the shit out of me. Like, we just talked about it. My 10-year goal is to be, my net worth to be $100 million. And how the fuck am I going to get there if I don't have structure in my life now, and I don't expand and get better within my business? So I literally just, I collaborate with Rene a lot. I also have a real estate coach. So I just have a lot of people on my side that help me just get better within my business.
Okay. So how do you get up? Because you work out at the gym and every morning as well. Like what is your spark? Because I think people think that we have some mysterious version, but the answer is yours is different than mine. Yours is different than his. So what is your spark?
Well, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I get up in the morning, work out. Used to do jiu-jitsu at 5 a.m. in the morning, but during COVID, my wife and I started working out, and it was great for our relationship. But the biggest reason that I get to work out is because my son is super fit, and I'm afraid he's going to be able to beat the shit out of me in the next 2 years. He also trains jiu-jitsu, so if I don't keep my technique down, then he's going to be making me take the trash out in no time. So that's why I make him work out. I'm like, hey, do your chores. Like, you do the chores. Fine. Fine. Well, but I'm not cooking breakfast. That's my honest answer to you. But yeah, no.
Well, and guys, and that comes down to me. Like, I wake up every morning, and I made a decision a long time ago that, hey, I want to cook breakfast for my kids and my wife every morning. Like, I make a nice breakfast for them because, for me, that means that they start the day right? So that's one of my motivations. Like, that's my motivation to start the day. My motivation to get to work is the fact that I want to make sure that I have X amount of families to take care of, and I think of it that every day. Right? There are 32 families that I'm responsible for, and I take that responsibility wholeheartedly, right? And from that point, that comes down to the category. So that's my motivation, right? What's yours?
Mine might be a little different. I guess mine's a little mixed, but I think mine's more. I was never really handed anything, and so I feel like mine's more. But I don't want to revert back to the lifestyle I grew up in. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we weren't. Like, it wasn't a horrible lifestyle. We got the bare necessities, but I remember not having money, and money was an issue, and we couldn't go out to restaurants, and we couldn't go on vacations, and we didn't get luxuries in life. It was just you have food on the table, and that's it. And that's so for me. One of the thoughts that I do when I wake up and I don't want to work out or I don't want to work, I reflect back on when I first started real estate, and there was one year where we were so broke where I remember being in the Walgreens aisle and not being able to buy my wife and my daughter a Valentine's Day gift. And so that's one of the main things that I reflect on is I'm not going back to that. So mine's a little bit more based off the pain and not going back to pain.
You know what's comical about that is I know we've had lunch and have conversations that you came from, you were what most people would have said, throw out to the trash, right? Mm-hmm. I know that Nick came from an environment and I came from an environment where we were not that you were thrown out to the trash, but you may have made some choices. But
a little bit of a black sheep. If you've met my brother, I'm not very big of a deal.
Financially, we were both growing up in families where we never wanted for anything, but we also never, I always make a joke about the fact that my dad bought a Happy Meal and split it between me and my brother, right? Like we were struggling at points, and we needed to be realized of that part.
Up until the Beanie Weenie story, but don't let me do it.
Anyways, the point is
look
that
for our
that's
Patreon.
That's
for Beanie
interesting
Weenie
to
story.
hear that each of us have that version of story that says, I don't know that I don't think any of us ever really wanted for anything, but I think we always had a concept that, we didn't have luxuries, and I sometimes worry about that.
Right.
That's a true worry for me. Because I've had a lot of success, and my kids don't want for much. Let me rephrase that. They don't want for anything, right?
But I think that's something that's important, right? Like if you do say something like that, like, hey, as you grow up, you found success, and you all grew up wanting, right? Like, hey, not having everything that you wanted and all this kind of stuff, and like right there, like that's a huge why. Like, I'll never go back to that for you, right? But like, you probably grew up with that. Like, I couldn't have the whatever. I mean, in my case, I didn't get the G.I. Joe I wanted, but like you guys, like, you're talking about serious things, and that's why I think it's so important to have our kids do things that, like once you do create that, that's like, for instance, we put our kids in jiu-jitsu. Right. It's important, man. Like, get down there, get beat up a little bit, but it's important to want something, to need something, and to get back in there. Because in American, we as Americans, we get anything we want, right? We can go down there and we can, if we're willing to work, we can go down and buy anything we want, all this kind of stuff. We need to work a little harder. Case in point, when you wake up, you're only sleeping 5 hours. Most people, I'm gonna get a little extra in, right? So I think that when you say discipline, that's important to say, like, hey, I'm willing to push a little harder. I'm willing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And guess what? that equates to success, right? Because people are
Equates
just so
to my
cool,
shirt
very
doesn't
comfortable.
fit.
Well, look how jacked Brian looks.
Yeah,
make,
look
him
at
lift his eyes.
I think Dale's response was,
Make him dance.
look, this
Dale.
is tight all the way through. That's what he said right before we came online.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Everything's tight all the time. But there's something to that, though, right? Like at the end of the day,
I'm wearing
it's
a
not
medium just for Dale.
and we appreciate it, Brian.
Yes.
But I don't. You do look good.
I love how Brian texted me like, "Hey, what's your shirt size?" And they gave me like 2 sizes smaller. He's like, "You're gonna wear this?" I was like, "Fuck no, I'm not gonna wear that." You better. And then Nick comes out, and I was like, "All right, we're good now."
Because I got your back.
Thanks, brother.
I got you.
A true top.
Yeah,
True top.
true top.
No, but like going back to like that, like having a want, right? Like I think that's also a beautiful thing because like I've grown up having to be resourceful. So it's not been like I can't, because if you can't, then you're gonna fail, and then you like this sounds morbid, but like if you can't, then you just you sit there and die. No. So I've been able to always be resourceful and say, not I can't, how can I? And my brain operates with problem solving and figuring out how I can do it. Regardless of how long it takes, my brain goes, you can, but
Well,
we
your
figure it out.
vocabulary matters,
Yeah.
right? If you use the wrong terminology in your life, it's going to fail you.
Of course.
Right? If you use words like can you, will you, I can't, and I won't, those things will come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
And-
one thing that I always constantly correcting everyone at the brokerage because they're always doing. Hopefully, I'll get this. I'm
trying.
Yeah. And it's like, no, you're gonna get it. Like earlier, one of
I just want everybody in the audience to catch wind of that it's not just me.
Yeah, no, I'm all about that too. Like earlier, one of our agents shared a win where she's like, "Hey, I was cold calling and I'm getting a 3-1 deal out of it. I'm getting 3 deals out of 1, and we're very excited about it." And she was like, "Hopefully, I get it. Hopefully, I get it." And it's like, no, you need to picture it. It's already done. It's already yours. You already have it.
You have to manifest it. You have
for
to
sure,
manifest
I'm all about energy and attracting the right energy.
And we broke down the math of those 3-1 deals just to further elaborate in your head, like when you get this is how awesome it's going to be. So you tell yourself you're going to do it because that math broke down. So off that one call that took 20 minutes to get that call answered right was $25,000 worth of commission she would get based off a 20-minute.
You know what's funny about that though?
Isolation, cold calling.
And what's funny about that is that a lot of agents will have that success, right? They'll close 25 grand. And then immediately after that, they'll talk about it for the rest of time. But you know what they won't ever do? Make that cold call again.
Yeah.
And it's just, and we had a story in our brokerage that's been living now, I think, for 10 years. We used to use phone books. I know that used to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
We would open the phone book and we would call, 25 years. Andrew just didn't, ish. But we'd open the phone book and we'd call through that list. And an agent won with calling up that list and going and finding a listing. And we spent the next 25 years having that conversation about that agent doing that, but never doing it again. And that's unfortunate. So that's, I think, where we all have to come in. You said discipline, right?
Yep.
Motivation lasts for a moment.
Right. Discipline
Lasts forever. But how do you think, I think because everybody here has pretty good discipline, how do we all kind of maintain that discipline? Because there's points where I tell myself like, man, this is tough. And I don't know that I want to go through it today. But then I have to, that's a momentary glimpse, and then I have to shift. So how does everybody do that?
But that's the thing, like, it's finding your why, obviously, right? But like when you say, and I jokingly said, hey, it's because I don't want to have to take my son's chores done, right? But like at the end of the day, it's going to happen, right? Like he'll be able to beat my ass, but I'm going to push it as far as humanly possible to the right? Does that make sense? Right? Like I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be fitter. I'm going to make sure that I can do what I can do. And there'll be a time when I'm no longer the alpha at the house, right? And whatever the case is, but I'm always going to be able to, my why is just in physical fitness wise, I want to be able to wake up and I want to be able to go on hikes. I want to be able to go on runs. I want to play football at Thanksgiving dinner.
Do
whatever.
yoga outside.
Do yoga outside and show I can be the guy on the bottom, which makes me the top, Rene. But hey, it's on video.
Right.
So top. But the point is that, you know, that's what it is you need to have something that gives you like it's easy to say, like David Goggins, right? If anybody's read David Goggins' book, right? Motivation doesn't help anybody because it's super easy to be like, you know, I'm going to go out and go for a run when it's 70 degrees and the birds are chirping and the sun's kind of out there, right? But what happens when it's super windy or super rainy, or it's snowing, right? That's discipline, because nobody wants to do it, right? What are you going to do on day to day? You decide with yourself, what am I going to do, right? That's it. I'm going to come up. This is my non-negotiable, and that's what I'm going to do. And if it's physical fit, non-negotiable. That's it. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And if that's physical fitness, but let's look at real estate, right? If I'm going to call, because how many times do we have people that are like, yeah, I used to do that, and it used to make me a lot of money, but I just stopped doing it. Like, and guess what? Your sales suck, right? If your non-negotiables, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to, from 8 to 9, I'm calling as many people as I can. Whatever your time is, whatever you're going to do, that's your non-negotiable. You're going to get after it. That's the discipline. Whether you feel like it or not, you're doing it, right? And I think that's the non-negotiable is it.
I think part of it also is going to tie into, kind of like Dale touched on it earlier, is part of it ties into having a crazy bigger goal that's beyond, I finally landed a cold call and I made $25,000. No, like once you elevate to that level, your mindset needs to shift and say, that's not all. I can actually elevate a little bit more, and I can elevate a little bit more, and I can elevate a little bit more. I just have to
100%.
keep showing up.
It's because the issue here, at least from what I've seen, is that people don't think big enough. Like people, like earlier we interviewed an agent, and they're like, I just want to make more than $45,000 a year. And obviously that's good pay for the area, but why can't you make $100,000 a year? Why can't you be a millionaire no pass? Right? People don't think that big, and I think that's an issue too.
And what happens when you hit that 45? Are they cool?
Well,
Are you good with
you're
it?
never satisfied.
And that's the thing, right? Like once you hit it, it's like, all right, cool. Now that I've hit it, do I just hang out for the next till the end?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important, right? Like you set the BHAG, right? Your big hairy ass audacious goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to get in here and I'm going to go for something crazy. And once I hit it, then I'm going to get bigger and bigger, and I'm always better. And that's you. As soon as you decide, like, you know what, I think I'm good. Guess what? We get older. Right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to just stop.
We make a joke about the fact that there are no realtor retirement parties. Well, let me rephrase that. There are, but they're called funerals. Right?
Super depressing.
And it is, right? We do this business, but we forget that it's a business.
Right.
And we're good at sales, right? You're good at talking to people. You're good at talking to people. I'm decent at talking to people. You're great at talking to people, but at the end of the day,
I'm the only one got a great. Not important. It's not important.
right? When you go through that process, right? You have to ask. He was on bottom. When you ask, I have to give some gracious point. Yeah. So you have to ask that question of, how do you create a business, right? Brokerage is a variable, but it's not the only variable. The other part is creating a viable database that feeds back. Both of you operate in the mindset that, hey, we want to create organic business, business that comes to us rather than us just finding business, right? And that's another part of the business that we forget about, because you can buy every lead in the book from Zillow, from Realtor.com, from every resource, but to create an organic lead means something different.
Oh yeah.
And I want to kind of just bring up the fact that Nick met Rene through what story? Because this is, I think, where it kind of translates that we have to help our industry more so. So go for it.
The hot dog eating contest or a different one?
The different one, the lock, jumping on a roof.
Not the sexy story. The other
Not
one.
the sexy story.
Eye contact or no eye contact? Thank you, Dale. What is y'all's one job? Laugh at my jokes. Go ahead, Renee. You tell the story.
Well, we've been on Farmers. I was good. I'm cute. Well, we met on FarmersOnly.com first. That's where we met. No,
Guys, magical is all I got to say about
it was
that. Sign up.
I was sitting in Borderland, some new construction homes, and me and another agent that I was trading there, we were walking outside looking at the houses around. While that agent, it wasn't me. The agent left the keys in the freaking model home, and the door locked.
The alleged agent.
The door locked, and Nick and his family just so happened to be walking around that area.
We're
And I'm
just
like,
there.
this guy looks like a ninja. And I'm like, hey, could
just
you
got out of the phone
scaffold
booth.
walls and climb up to the second story of this house and open that door because it's open and get our keys? Nick actually did that.
Rips off his real estate
Yeah,
uniform
he
and
did.
has a fucking.
Thank you. That's what you do.
Yeah. So really, he did scaffold like walls, and he went to the second story, opened the door.
He
came
legally
out,
climbed
opened
the next
door.
door neighbor's wall that was not your listing.
It was somebody else's listing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which made it cool.
Yeah, it was. So, I mean, that's how we met.
Well, and I
that was,
think
you know,
what
and
it comes
love
down
after
to,
And now look.
you have to remember, and what's funny about that is that story was told to me and Andrew literally the next Monday, right? And this connection with
By people who are looking at the house, guys, not by me.
well, but this conversation comes down to if we don't help our industry with
Want some mango?
whether it be getting a door or key out of a door, right? Whether it be helping a person, Dale and I have had conversations where we just talk about what's next, like what's the next step. If we don't help each other grow and scale, if we don't have people that listen to what we're trying to get out, is that it's not about us, it's about helping you, right? I think that's really imperative that we kind of make sure that people realize that, and that we're also attainable. You know what I mean? Like you can be reached at any time, and I'm sure you're not going to say, "Oh, no." You had a video where you're hiding under the bed in a wig. I will say on a wig, right? And he's hiding
a good
under
video.
and it is a great video, and I've watched it like 5 times, maybe 10
Today.
yeah. There's a point in that video where you call the other agent, right? And you're in a deep voice and you change the voice. And what's comical about it is that you speak to that agent and you're like, hey, Rene, what's up? That's not a conversation that's rare to you, right? You know people from other brokerages.
Right.
You communicate with people from other brokerages. Because you are at your own brokerage, you also don't say, oh, well, I'm not going to work with you if you don't come over here, right? You are going to work with people because that is your mentality.
Right.
And I think that's the real important part, is that everybody realizes that you're attainable, and I'm attainable.
Right.
By the token of, if you need help, we're here to help.
Right.
Right? And that's the real benefit that I think each person out in the public that might be watching this realizes. And I know this is 40 minutes into the conversation, and maybe it should be the first minute, because I think people tend to say, well, hey, all my agents that work with you, Dale, are like, hey, I work with Dale, right?
Yeah.
And you make the same comment. And we're working with Brian because it kind of translates the next step. And I think that's the part of the business that a lot of people miss, is that this is not a us versus them. This is we're going to work together.
And that's how it should, like you said
We
before.
have the same common goals. We're trying to accomplish the same thing. So why would we not work together?
And
Like you said with the ego. There's so much ego. Like how many times have you worked with somebody like, well, what I would have done. Like every time somebody talks to me about it, like, oh, well, I have an agent. I was like, well, hold on. Like, I don't know the area.
Right.
What is the situation? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But how many times you see agents who are like, didn't do this, did they? Right. There's always somebody who's trying to get that gotcha to make them sound good. Like, why don't we just work together? Like, there's enough deals out there for us all to make money.
And
we change the
that's
mango?
actually how we met.
Did we change the mango?
Is it fruity?
It's very fruity.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, Rene. Thank you. Yeah.
Like this.
Back to bottom.
And scene. Go ahead, Rene. You were saying?
Bottom.
Yeah. Let me look over the bottom here to see you.
But that's how we met. Me and Dale weren't friends outside of real estate when we first started talking. We met each other through social media because we both liked each other's stuff about real estate, and then eventually turned into a conversation of like, hey, we should mastermind. Okay, great. And we started masterminding for a couple of years, and here we are. I'm 11 years in, he's at 6 years in, and we ended up
That was a boss move right there.
forming a
See what you did?
partnership.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we met through collaboration. We weren't afraid to pick each other's brain to elevate each other. Because at the end of the day, talking about military stuff, right? Like, it's not a war zone, bro. We should collaborate with each other and one another. And
But
help
even
each
if
other
it
get
is a
to the
war
goals.
zone, like at the end of the day, everybody that's out there, if we're on the same side, we should talk to each
Yeah,
other.
for sure.
Like that's part of it. Like that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like whether you're in the same brokerage or not, we should talk about. Hey, look, what is happening? What is the market? What are we seeing? I mean, this right here. That's what I love about this whole scene right here. Right? Like we're all sitting together. We're not in the same brokerage. Right? But there's no reason for us to be like, oh yeah, that guy sucks. Right? Like, well, yeah, okay, where's size medium? Okay, like, this is his actual size he requested, guys. Look at his jeans. Yeah, like what are you guys bitching about? Yeah, you should see my nipples. But the point, yeah. But that's the thing, right? Like we should be able to talk. We should be able to, and let's see what's happening. Like there's so much out there. Don't try and screw each other over. How much better can you be? Like you said, you guys go to lunch all the time and you talk. You're not trying to hide stuff. Right?
I'm getting a little jealous because you guys, I don't know, how many times you guys go to lunch?
I have never been to lunch with Dale. And that's what's pissing me off.
Let me
Let's
find
go to
out.
lunch after this.
Let me find out.
Well, and I think that's what comes down to it. Is
I'm a jealous partner, okay?
It also comes down to realizing
Definitely bottom. Back to bottom.
Yeah.
when
I hear it, so
You just lost it, Renee.
Guys, the top
you guys have to drive.
the tops
You,
are talking, guys.
you guys have to
All right?
drive home together, right?
Okay.
We get to.
I think what and our producer is kind of giving us the, hey, it's time.
Getting that red dot.
What it comes down to is this, right?
Right here.
Well, number one, don't think that you can't do something.
Right.
That's one. Number two comes down to don't be hesitant to help others, because helping others also teaches you how to be the best that you can be, right? As we bring people around us, I think that you will all attest that when you teach others, you learn 10 times better, right? And then the other part is that also making sure that don't be weary of getting the call to come on Growler Hour, because we'll make you do some fun stuff, right?
I'm all for it.
Don't be weary, Rene.
You don't come.
We got a Deadpool Wolverine vibe
Wear
going.
stretchy pants.
Yeah, we're yoga
No skinny jeans.
right? Well, and
Actually, bring all the skinny jeans you can.
And-
We get the win.
what we all need to realize is that we can all win together in this industry, and it's getting tough.
Yep.
And I think we can all attest to the fact that the market has changed dramatically.
Yep.
But that doesn't make it hard. It makes it different. And if we can evaluate it and win in it, I think we can all win together.
For sure. I think if you flip your mindset into, oh, it's so hard and challenging now, to, hey, where's the silver lining? Where's the opportunity now? You're gonna win, because there's a bunch of people that go negative first, and they're gonna drop out of the industry. If you switch your mindset to say, what do I need to do? How do I shift? How do I improve with what's happening in the market? You're gonna take more market share as an agent.
Yeah.
So it really starts again with your mindset and saying, how can I, versus, oh, this is horrible, this sucks, let me go back to 9 to 5.
No, that's a huge point, man. Like all the stuff right now. Like obviously we have lawsuits, we have everything going on in the world, and some people are like, oh, hey, 60% of the real estate agents will be gone in the next year. It's all
bye.
right. Well, that's the thing, right? Like it's so crazy, and the people who are like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like if you're scared, that's a problem, right? Like, everybody should be looking at this like, hell yeah,
Yeah, you want
because
to
guess what? The clients are all still there,
Right,
Right.
exactly.
If you're doing the right thing, we're good. Right, like, and that's the thing. Like, you should look at that. If 60% of your competition is going to have to leave, like the people that aren't doing, because that's the thing, right? Like good realtors, I think it's great. Like you're doing a great job. You do a great job. Like all of that kind of stuff. Like I have nothing but good things to say about you guys. But there are realtors out there who don't do a good job. Like it's somebody's aunt's roommate from college that got the job after doing the test, right? Like they do like 6 iPhone photos with them in the photo.
You also have
Screw, those guys should leave, right? But you see what I'm saying? Like I'm okay with them leaving. If you look at that and you're like, hell yeah, right? You're in a good spot.
Yep.
If you're not like that, then change your shit. It's that simple.
But it's also perception. What was comical is the other day I got a message from an agent that's a good producing agent. And he said, well, you guys just want to keep the commission, right? Because the mindset
fly.
was that, hey, I'm trying to just keep commission and I'm not sharing. It's not the case at all. And I am definitely sharing, because I think that we still have a fiduciary to the deal.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that was the perception. And perception oftentimes becomes each other's reality, right? And if that's going to be the case, what you need to sometimes do is reach out to the individual and find out if that's the case. Because I will tell you that last week we were at Realtor Rally, and I was sitting with, we were about to walk out, and Scott walked up. And Scott Kesner came up and told me about something
Kind of a big deal.
we've implemented into our business that day, about how to make sure that we secure our commissions. That small piece was taken by the fact that, 15, 16, 17 years ago, I decided to make a relationship with Scott Kesner in a deal, on a transaction, through that process. That translated into something that's going to help my business today. So don't discount the fact that you will run into this person repetitively.
Oh, yeah.
You've been
This is for sure. This is a small world, especially the
Especially
people who
for
are
the
really
success.
doing the good
Yeah.
stuff. And Scott Kesner is a huge mentor to all 3 of us for sure. I mean, that's one of those people that
I love his accent.
Oh, he's amazing. I mean, like I don't want to turn this into a fanboy thing, but I'm a fanboy for
I'm
Scott
a
Kesner.
fanboy. I'm not even that close to him.
Done. Scott Kesner, you're the
he's a
man.
good dude.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. But the point is that's huge, right? You find people who are good guys, right? Good people, not just good realtors, but good people. Right? There's people out there like Pat Tuttle, Scott Kesner. Like you get together with these guys and like they're going to tell you what they truly believe, not just like, hey, this is like a quick sound bite, whatever the case is. You find them and like create a relationship with them, and it's huge. Because that day right there, like that was a big deal.
Big day. So with that, guys, I would just want to make sure that everybody realizes that connect with your fellow realtors. Connect with the opportunity that you can win if you learn from others. I told I told my child this, and she just actually walked in the office. I told my child this just this morning. I said, why have to learn the lesson the hard way? Why not ask the person that already learned the lesson and figure out the easy way, right? Because I've made a lot of mistakes. I spent a lot of money doing the wrong thing. Ask me. I'll tell you. That was right. That was wrong. That didn't work. That did. Use those resources. These people 99% of the time, when we have somebody on the show, that's because we feel that they are valuable to you as a marketplace.
I'm going to go ahead and say 100% of the time.
100% of the time. The 1% is Nick. So,
All right, standing back. I just filled the beer.
mango,
Really
mind you.
good at
Yeah.
This is
Mango.
good. This wasn't even my call.
With that being said, just make sure that you connect with people and tune in to this. Hopefully our audio was great today. Our producers and everybody that helps facilitate and kind of manage this, I appreciate you. And I want to just celebrate with the fact that we appreciate both of you for coming.
Thank you.
And we didn't tell them what they were doing today, so they were great
Good.
sports.
What good sports.
Yeah, great
Renee
sports.
was super excited about yoga.
Yeah.
He loved it.
Best.
He signed up
In the sun.
That's one reason why I came.
He's going to show up on our Monday mornings for yoga in the
He'll be
grass.
here as you guys are walking in. He'll already be here.
Hey guys,
I have the yoga mat laid out for him.
I got the growlers.
With your headband and
No, but seriously, guys, thank you
getting
guys.
on
man.
top.
It's always fun to collaborate with like-minded individuals. I do believe we can all grow together and learn from one another, and there's an environment for everybody. Like it's competition, but it's also collaboration. But there's also, again, people aren't going to relate with your side as much as people that relate to us. So I mean, there's enough for everybody.
vice versa.
You can collaborate
And vice versa.
and vice versa. And vice versa.
Yeah. Okay, Renee.
That's all we're talking. That's all we're talking. No, but thank you guys.
Get him back. Tell him, Brian.
Shut up, Nick. No, but
I
thank you
saw him
guys.
kissing the shirt earlier.
Yeah.
I get to keep this, right?
You get to keep it, absolutely.
I get to keep this.
This I expect to be in every social media post that you have going forward.
absolutely.
Now-
Take it off right now and give it.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
Brian.
gonna
You want views and views.
Dale, I fully expect that Brenda go to Dale. If that shirt does not rip
That's still Brian.
at some stage in social media, I will be disappointed.
Everything is tight on
I've
Dale.
been sucking it in this whole time. As soon as I let it go, it's gonna tear. Trust me.
Thank you guys for joining. We appreciate you. We appreciate you joining us, and we would love a like and a share and a follow, obviously. But guys, thank you so much for coming on.
sure.
Thank you for having
Anything final words?
No, bro, I think you hit it. I mean, just collaboration. Don't be afraid to learn from others. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help, because that can future pace you years and years and years in advance. Cut the ego down, right? Like, don't have too much pride to ask somebody for help, because you could save yourself years of heartache and actually get to a point where you want to with success by asking somebody that's where you're at, right? I don't know if that translated right.
Yeah,
I've had, like,
I mean,
4
I'm
of
gonna
these bad
piggyback
years.
and say the same thing. I mean, part of my quote-unquote success has been the fact that I've been able to collaborate with so many great agents, and I wasn't afraid to do that from the day one. I used to reach out, a great friend of mine, Matt Rice, and him and I had a conversation for a whole year before we actually met. Like, we would talk throughout the year. So you just don't know who's going to be put in front of you. That might be the next person that could take you to the next level. So put the egos away, hide them, and just keep it cool with everyone.
And it doesn't have to be the exact business model, right?
Right.
Matt and your business are not identical,
They're nowhere near the same.
but that doesn't mean that doesn't see success.
Exactly.
And I think that's where we need to be conscious of, is that Dale's business and my business are not the same. And that doesn't mean that we can't talk about how we win.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, perfect example. I also went to the Tom Ferry event with Rene, and I have a different real estate coach that's not with Tom Ferry organization, but it's a different way of seeing things, a different way that maybe I could take some things from it. I'm not afraid to learn from different people, even though their business isn't aligned with mine. I'm always open to learn from people, and I always tell that to everyone. I was like, it doesn't hurt to know more. You know, the more you know, the better off you'll be. 100%. So that's usually what I relay to everybody. So.
And vice versa. I went to your coaches conference last year, and I'm a real estate coach, and I learned a lot of shit there. It was really good.
100%.
So yeah.
Get to conferences, win in the business, ask questions, don't be hesitant to hear from others. Guys, thank you. Appreciate it.